Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, The College Process. Once again, I'm Ed from Principia Prep. And today, like every Friday, I'm going to go into the comment section of all the comments you guys left on all the questions here on the different YouTube channel videos. I'm going to answer each one of them in detailed format so everyone has answers to all the questions you guys leave on any of these videos. Now, of course, as you guys know, this is the first time you're jumping on the channel, viewing any of our videos here. If you have questions about anything financial aid or admissions related for college on any of these videos here, just put your questions in the comment section. Every Friday, I'm going to go in and answer your questions and put them back here on YouTube in video format so everyone has answers to all their questions. That being said, let's jump right into the first question here from 2 weeks ago, because I did miss some time here. I did miss a week or so because of the holidays. Question coming in here. As someone who doesn't live in the US and from a different continent like Africa, do I use the Social Security number from my country? I guess you're asking if you use your Social Security number when you're filling out the financial aid forms, and the answer is no. You would only be eligible for, if you're filling out this form here, the FAFSA form, if you're a U.S. citizen or if you're a permanent resident. If you're neither one of these two things, then you cannot fill out the FAFSA form, unfortunately. If you are a permanent resident and you're wondering, well, how do I fill out the FAFSA form? You would actually put all zeros in for the Social Security number. That's how you would actually fill out the form. But if you're not either one of a permanent resident or if you're not a U.S. citizen, you cannot do the FAFSA form, unfortunately. Next question here is coming in from 2 weeks ago as well. What if my parents won't give financial information for the FAFSA? Can I be deemed an independent student? The answer is no. Unfortunately, the student's parents, especially if they're under the age of 24, the student's parents, if they elect not to give you the financial information, you cannot, unfortunately, fill out the FAFSA form to be eligible for financial aid as far as making yourself independent. To be independent in the world of financial aid forms and FAFSA and everything else, you have to be at least 24 years or older when you're entering that fall semester, or you have to be independent based on both parents being deceased or incarcerated, or you as a student have to have a dependent, or you have to have been in the military at some point in time, as well as you can also, if you're married, be independent. But outside of those factors, you cannot make yourself independent if the parent does not want to provide you financial information, unfortunately. If you don't meet those criteria, you have to provide the parents financial information. If they're not willing to, unfortunately, the financial aid offices cannot help. You can ask them if they can help you become independent by doing professional judgment, but they're going to ask a bunch of questions such as, are the parents supporting you? Are you living in their house? So on and so forth. If you say yes to any of these questions, it's very likely they will not allow you to do independence as far as the financial aid forms are concerned, unfortunately. And that being said, let's go to the next question here. Hi, question. Can you add only income of one parent even if they file joint? They are and have been together, but for some reason continue filing together. My mother filed for divorce, but her taxes together with her do not qualify me for help. How can I fix that? Alone, my mother does not make even $40,000 a year. This is all of our income. Her ex-spouse is not even my parent. I do not receive extra income from anywhere other than my mom's 2 jobs. Are there any other documents to prove my mom's true income without her tax return? Now, what will have to happen is if your step parent and your mom, your biological parent, are now divorced or separated, you can tell the financial aid office that they are separated on the FAFSA form for this academic year, 23-24. Same thing for the next academic year, 24-25 FAFSA, which is not out just yet. You can indicate that the parents are separated and or divorced. They are looking for more documentation, though, now than ever before, as far as if they are separated. They're asking for legal separation documentations or letters from lawyers, this kind of stuff to prove that the parents are technically divorcing or in the process of divorcing, i.e. legal separation in the world of financial aid here. So it's gotten kind of a little bit more complicated, unfortunately, than it was before. Before, you could just say they're separated or divorced for more than 3 months, and it's it. There's not much documentation necessary. They'll ask for both the tax return as well as the parents' W-2s, and then they'll sort it out for you, seeing who makes what as far as income. But yes, you can still use, if you're filling out this year's FAFSA 23-24, just one parent's income, i.e. your mother's, and then for next FAFSA form as well, 24-25 FAFSA, once again, you can still use one parent's information, but they will likely ask for more documentation, specifically on the legal separation aspect of it. All right, let's go to the next question here from 2 weeks ago. On studentaid.gov, it says annuities are not counted on the FAFSA, but other sources say it depends on whether it is qualified or non-qualified annuity. It is more clear on the CSS form. They only count qualified annuities from pre-tax dollars. My question is whether any of the information on the new FAFSA coming on December will count as non-qualified annuity or as an asset for qualified. Now, as far as your question is concerned, the way it works is typically, and more likely going to happen for the new FAFSA as well as the new CSS coming out, is if you have an annuity and it's not retirement based, it's not based on the retirement assets, it's going to count. Have an annuity, it's generating income, generating interest, so on and so forth. It's very likely going to count on the new financial aid forms coming out, both the FAFSA and the CSS. Hopefully that kind of helps answer your question here. And the next question here, I'm up right here from 2 weeks ago again. I'm a permanently disabled parent. I have heard I can take a student loan for my dependent daughter in my name, married, filing separately, and essentially not have to pay the loan back due to my repayment amount being equal to $0 a month. And the loan being ineligible for student loan forgiveness after a few years passing. Does this exist and how can I get the information about it? Well, the way it works is for the federal loans, especially the loan you're talking about here, which is technically more than likely you're talking about the Parent Plus loan, the answer is yes, to a certain extent. Now, if you are permanently disabled, they basically will require you to basically pay $0 or essentially $1 per month to keep the payments going and so on and so forth. And then you can also extend the payments out to deferments, forbearance, hardships, etc., over and over again, the way the system is set up so far, to basically just pay $1 a month. And then, yes, once you pass, that loan will actually pass with you. Or essentially where the loan, if it outlives you as the parent, the student doesn't get the loan passed on to them. It just basically goes away. All right, next question here from 2 weeks ago again. Hey Ed, really important question. My parent income is around 50 to 55,000, and both my siblings are in college, getting full financial aid. Would me getting a job in senior year of high school potentially lower me and my siblings' financial aid, or is there a limit to how much money I can make before it affects me? My family consists of 2 parents, 4 siblings, 1 elderly. Only my dad makes money. Well, the way it works is right off the bat, your financial situation, as far as you working as a student, is not going to affect the siblings. So don't worry about that. As far as you making income, it won't affect the siblings whatsoever. As far as you making income, I would roughly try to keep the income somewhere around like $8,000 or so or below for the tax year. If you can keep it at $8,000 and below for the tax year, it will also not have any effect whatsoever on your financial assistance or what you're getting from the school as far as financial aid. All right, next question here from 13 days ago. Hi, great job, and thanks for the effort. I've heard somewhere that opening a retirement account would be a way to utilize the cash sitting in savings accounts and checking accounts, and that retirement assets do not need to be reported when filing the FAFSA. Can you please comment? As far as retirement assets, they don't count on the FAFSA form to an extent. Let me explain what I mean. When you put money into a retirement account for a tax year, the money you put into that tax year will count. The amount you have in the account will not count. So let's just say you're filling out the 24-25 FAFSA, which is for next fall students going into college. Any money you put into a retirement account for your 2022 taxes, that money you put in there will be asked of you on the FAFSA form. So the contribution will count on the FAFSA. But if you had put money in 21 or 2020 or 2019, those monies will not count. It's just the money you put in for that given year that's required for the FAFSA that counts. Any monies previous to that or any growth based on the market going up, your stocks going up, your retirement account, etc., that does not count. All right, next question here from 11 days ago. Can you tour colleges while you're a sophomore in high school, or is it better to wait until you are a junior? I would select basically going on college tours as early as possible. It is never too early, whether you're in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, etc. You don't have to wait till junior year, which everyone thinks, that's kind of the time you have to put your list together. I'm always a proponent of doing everything as early as possible. If I can do a trip in 8th grade or 9th grade or 10th grade, I'm definitely doing the trip. I'm definitely doing the tour. You can start your relationship a lot earlier with the admissions reps of your region. You also get a better sense of colleges you like. Do you want a big school, small school, rah, urban, city, etc. These are all the things you can figure out early on if you do these trips earlier. So yes, I would consider doing trips earlier on if I were you guys out there. All right, next question here coming in from 9 days ago. Why aren't Parent Plus loans eligible for ICR, SAVE, and other plans? Basically, the person's talking about the income-driven plans where you pay less and then the loans are forgiven at some point in time. I would have to consolidate to get a lower monthly payment, but it seems like the options has higher interest rates and costs. What's the deal with the Parent Plus loan? Unfortunately, the way it works, at least the way the system's been set up for decades and decades and decades, this is before the revamping of the income-driven programs, is that the Parent Plus loan was kind of looked upon more like a private loan, where the students' federal direct loans, the Stafford loans, were looked upon more as the federal loans. I understand they're all federal, Plus, Stafford, so on and so forth, federal direct loans. But the reality is they're not grouped the same, where they're not looking to help basically alleviate the parents' debt the way they are looking to alleviate the students' debt. So yes, unfortunately, these plans are not going to be eligible for any loan forgiveness anytime soon, unfortunately, unless there's some kind of political situation where one group basically controls everything, the executive branch, the Congress, the Senate, and they select to go through with it. Unless they control all 3 branches, very likely not going to happen, unfortunately, because of the fact that everything going on, they try to push student loan forgiveness. One group didn't like it. They shut it down for everybody because they didn't create it. Good, bad, or indifferent, just the reality of what happened. And without that happening, the Parent Plus loans will more than likely stay in the situation they're in. They're not going to be eligible for student loan forgiveness, unfortunately. All right, next question here from 9 days ago. Ed, what happens when the parents are divorced and they alternate claiming students on the child's taxes? I think you're asking about the FAFSA coming up, the 24-25 FAFSA. Right now, we don't have an answer. And I don't mean like we don't have an answer, like I don't have an answer. I mean like the U.S. Department of Education doesn't have an answer. The way that the system is set up right now, it's the question on the FAFSA form for the 24-25 FAFSA right now in place, according to the U.S. Department of Education. I know this because I've talked to them. I've been to the Congresses, the conferences, and everything else. I've talked directly to the U.S. Department of Education about this, the government entity who actually creates all these questions in the FAFSA. And they've said they're still trying to figure it out. I understand it's not a great answer at this point in time since we're in December or in September, and the form opens up in like 3 months. But the reality is, right now, the question is who provides the most support. Now, what they're trying to lean towards is who's claiming the student on the taxes, because that's typically who gets exemption, is the one who's basically spending more money on the student, 51% of support or more. But at this point in time, they're still trying to figure out if the parent goes back and forth claiming the student, or if there's child support involved. So technically that could make that person, the more majority of the person who provides more support, regardless of who claims the student. Right now, we're in a weird situation. But I would suggest at this point in time, if you're looking to do 22 or 23 taxes, or let's say finish 22 taxes or working on maybe 23 taxes, I would suggest utilizing the parent with the lower income to have them claim the student at this point in time until we get a resolution of what do they mean by who's supporting the student more, financially speaking, to get more financial consideration in the whole process rather than going back and forth. And then later on, you can figure out, if I took the kid for 2 years, I'll give you the kid for 2 years later on, once we figure out what FAFSA is going to do. Okay, next question here from 9 days ago. My son has done his own taxes for about 3 years for his job. He is 21. Does this make him an independent student? Unfortunately, it does not. In the world of financial aid, age 18 and 21 do not mean anything. Having the student file taxes does not mean anything. It's not until the student turns 24 within the given academic year that they're able to be an independent student, unfortunately. And then from 1 day ago, this question here, may I ask, as a student choosing to enter university, may I ask why the reason that 9 minutes and 9 seconds will not work for a college admissions officer? What if the course engineering, the student is choosing a related or relevant to that reason? Of course, the student will have to add more substance. I'm not sure what your question is. If you want to be more detailed with your question, I'll answer it next week, but I don't know what you're asking here. All right. And then next question here from 15 hours ago. Thanks, Ed. Very informative. What if you don't know exactly who is holding your FAFSA loan? How can you find out who and where and how to pay them? I believe that some of them will be with FinEd, but I don't know any passwords, codes, etc. Also, the rates range from 2.5 to 6.84. Some are grad school loans. Let me see a little bit more to this. A big chunk of these loans need to be due ASAP, now accruing interest. Well, the way you find out is very simple. You can actually go to studentaid.gov. Once you log in as the student, automatically on the right-hand side, it'll show you who your lender is. And it'll show you right in the middle, once you log into the dashboard, how much you owe for the different loans, the federal direct loans for the grad program, as well as grad plus loans. All of it will be there showing up on there. And you can actually, on the right-hand side, which shows the lender who's technically your servicer, who's servicing the loan for you for the federal government, it will show you their email, their website, and their phone number. You can call them, get a human being on the phone, and they'll be able to answer your questions. If you're having difficulty getting into the form, then you need to get the student's FAFSA ID information. To get the student's FAFSA ID information, if you don't know or can't access it through their email or their cell phone, very simple. I'll put it up here on the screen here. I'll put the 800 number. Call this number here. Let them know you can't access the account. They'll ask you for the student's social, birthday, name, etc., and they'll help you recreate the account to get back into the account so you can check everything out. And then the last question here, coming in from an hour ago, what if you're in community? I guess you're asking, what if you're in community college? Can you use federal loans or private loans or state loans or really any loans for the student loans out there to pay for housing? And the answer is technically yes. Even for community college, they do have a budget. Even though community colleges are typically, most of them, commuter schools, they still do have in the commuter school cost of attendance budget a housing and food allowance in there. So yes, technically you can take out a loan and pay for housing off campus, utilizing the student's cost of attendance and getting the loan funds coming in. Then the school refunds you and you use those loan funds for living expenses. Okay. Other than that, thank you guys for watching today's video. Once again, if you guys have any questions, every Friday, I jump back on here. Hopefully, I'm going to start getting a little bit more in tune with this with school starting up now in September. So I'll be answering your questions every Friday going forward. So leave your questions here on the channel for any of the videos here, and I will answer them every Friday going forward. And other than that, on the screen is my contact information. If you guys need help in the process for admissions or financial aid, feel free to send me a text message. I do meet with families on one-on-one through Zoom to help families out, or you can email me as well. And other than that, thank you for watching today's video.